history repeats itself, but it's repeating itself digitally, and nobody's seeing the parallels because they've never seen it before. The shackles of slavery look way different in a digital world than they do in a physical world. It doesn't come with like pain. It comes with like euphoria and dopamine and like influencer status. We give ourselves willingly to these systems, but are they good for us long term? Probably not.
I don't think it will be long until the software development is not necessary anymore. Like, because the everyday person is building their own pieces of software.
I don't think that's true at all. Facebook made this proposition of build your audience with us. We'll help you reach your audience. That's a social network that you have. And then they flipped the whole script on that, and they started holding your audience hostage.
There will be less people needed to write code, but do we still need mathematicians? Yes. And do these things substitute for like actual intelligence? So far, no.
We're ancient hardware running medieval software living in a modern world. Mm-hmm. And so our bodies are still like evolutionarily tuned for a totally different world than the one we live in right now. And we haven't really figured out like what is the new role for humanity in this space when we have abundant intelligence or abundant resources. Like, we just don't really know. And anybody who pretends that they know is like lying to you.
What you just saw were clips taken from the extended live version of Command AI. This is the recap version, so catch us live every week for much more banter, ideas, and discussion with the chance to interact with us live. Now with that, enjoy this week's news in the world of AI.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Okay, this is going to be a fun one. What else you got there? What can we expect? Okay.
That's all.
Okay. You want to lay down the...
Sure, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rymar. I am the CMO at DXOS, at a company called DXOS. And I'm also a tinkerer on the web. I've been building websites since like 2012, first with WordPress, then Webflow. And now I would say I'm more of a vibe coder. So I was like, went from the no code world into the vibe code world. I'm fairly technical in a lot of things, and I dabble and build with AI, and I'm kind of on the cutting edge of some of this tech with infrastructure and things we're building on the back end. But yeah, anyway, happy to join the conversation and chat about whatever comes up.
So formalities out the way, I'll start the show officially with my little introduction, and then we'll get cracking on this week's AI news, if I can do it without messing up. Welcome to Command AI, the show where we press Command F on the internet's AI news and somehow still can't find our sanity. I'm Samuel Gregory, and this is Kabaza and Rymar. And we're here to decode the weekly chaos in AI web design and development. This week we have $6 billion company vanishes overnight. Vibe coding app hits 100 million ARR. Gemini joins the CLI race. Is this the end of app dev as we know it? OpenCode drama. Are we getting dumber with AI? But we'll get into all that on this week's episode. Well, I've got plenty of thoughts on the iYo drama. Do you wanna take us through it, Kabaza?
Yeah, so apparently there is another company called iYo, and this is similar to the company from Johnny Ive, who Sam Altman from OpenAI acquired for $6.5 billion, if I'm not wrong. Similar name and apparently similar product. They reached out to Sam Altman. They pitched him for $10 million only. Compare that to 6.5 billion. And Sam Altman didn't accept. And apparently later on, they asked again, and OpenAI rejected again, saying that their product is not similar and something like that. But apparently they are suing OpenAI because the name is the same. Well, it's pronounced the same. And the product is maybe very similar. We don't know that, but that's the interesting part.
Have you seen the device, Rymar? Have you seen what iYo are doing?
Yeah, I did.
This device sits in your ear, and you can see him here. He's like talking with his friends at this dinner table. Obviously, he's not, because he's doing a TED talk, but he's asking to enhance the voice of these two people in front of him because he can barely hear them. And then he's subsequently asking a baby to shut up because there's a baby crying, and here's him, turn that baby down and things like that. So it's an unreal. Yeah. It's a pretty cool device, but I suppose the drama kind of comes into play when we're thinking like the name is the same, and the device is the same. And I just don't think that, I don't know.
But do you know it's the same? Like, you know, like we don't really know what OpenAI was going to build. It's just the name is really what they're going after, the iYo name.
Yeah.
I also, you know, like, no offense, but nobody's going to wear that fucking hockey puck in their ear.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's the thing with all these folks. It's like, and I don't know. I have no love for like stealing people's shit, and it just seems like OpenAI, like all these AI companies, are just ingesting everything they can. They're like, screw it, it's all ours. You know, it's in the public domain. It's basically ours. You know, and so to me, this is just another like, we're just going to do whatever we want. We're big. We got more money. Come fight us in the, you know, like in the courtroom, and we'll do whatever, right? Like, I just don't think they have any real scruples over there. They know winner takes all at the end of this thing, and all this stuff will take years to litigate, and so they just don't care. Like, I honestly think it's pretty gross, but that's what it comes down to at a high level, I think.
This is another episode of Silicon Valley. Again, I'm repeating that every week, but it's literally that, like, we are living that show live. We see that every week. I don't know if you've seen that, Reimer, or not.
I'm trying to get to that 3 comma club, son. I want a car that doors that open like this, not like this. I want doors that open like this.
It's very similar to Rabbit R1, if you remember that, or the human AI pin. The idea is that these companies are building an external device, a hardware, and they are putting some AI on it, and that's supposed to do some work that can't be done somewhere else, and therefore you need to buy their physical product. And I don't get that idea, because we have a smartphone, and our smartphones are much faster, much better from every perspective. The smartphone is better. So I don't get it. Like, why would you wear, as you said, like, why would you wear this big head? It's not even a headset. What, that big thing in your ear? And why does it need to be a physical, like, big product on your ear? If it's not just for branding and to, you know,
I mean,
to
AirPods
show that you have
a hard time sticking in your ear, let alone some big like thing. I just don't think, like Kabar said, I don't want to carry. I don't want to carry my phone, let alone like a third device.
I am one of these people though that just want this ever-present AI, because like I hate getting out my phone, and I do it around the kitchen. Like, if I could just ask to message someone, or like do this, or what is that, and how do I do this? I'm constantly asking questions in my head. So I want something to like just be around me. I just don't want it to be a hockey thing on the side of my head, and I don't want it to be noticeable and unintrusive. Maybe it's like a pin.
There's something better. Neuralink.
Yeah, sure.
So you're gonna get that.
Speaking of which, the next story is one of yours, Ramar. That is a favorite tool of.
They just made this announcement. Going from 10 million to 100 million ARR, which is wild. In the last 6 months, so the company's been around for 10 years, and in the last 6 months, they go from 10 million to 100 million. I mean, I remember when I was like doing Webflow stuff in 2019, I think I found out about Replit, and it was just like a collaborative IDE. They weren't, they definitely weren't doing this agentic stuff. And just in the last few months, it's just gotten really good. It's wild.
I do think it's in a league of its own though, because a lot of like Lovable, Bolt, even V0, they don't have their own, like they want you to use Supabase, and they want you to use Stripe, and they want you to use Clerk, and all these separate tools. Whereas Replit, it has its own built-in. All of these tools are all built in. So from the initial prompt, it already knows what it's capable of, and will build those things in. Whereas all the other tools, I feel like they mock all that data.
The thing that I don't think most people think about when it comes to Replit is, since they've been around for so long, the product is very mature. And because it was not only a collaborative IDE, but they had this like one-click deployment. They have the back-end infrastructure. They have a lot of security things that like other folks aren't thinking about. And so the way they manage their secrets and environmental variables is very interesting. I see a lot of the other companies now trying to copy that. The integration with Neon, the back-end databases, that basically it's a, Postgres database, and the thing speaks SQL, and you can just talk natively. Like, again, I saw somebody just recently tweeting about Supabase, it needing to be a little less technical. And it's like you said, having it all integrated, having the agent being able to talk to everything natively. There's other integrations you can bring in. There's a preview live in the pane, like between the agent and the assistant. It's just better than everything else out there. Like Bolt and Lovable, like they're great products, and I've seen some interesting things built with them. But as far as like usable, fully functional, like not just a pretty front end or not just a little web skin. Like if you want real functionality, Replit's the one for sure.
Support for this episode comes from Flowbase. If you are building in Webflow, Framer, or Figma, Flowbase can help you build much faster. With over 4,000 components to choose from, you have a huge variety of wireframes and super clean, nicely designed sections that you can put together by just simply copy-pasting them to your project.
Over 15,000 icons as well, over 1,000 illustrations.
They also have a super helpful Webflow app called Boosters. With Boosters, you can add things like sliders and marquees and count-ups to your project with a few clicks and without any coding. So yeah, big thanks to Flowbase for supporting the show. If you want to try them out, go head to flowbase.co.
And just for you guys, I want to show a discount. Command Flowbase, all capitals, for 20% off any plan. This is a limited offer, so get in there early.
All right, that's it. Let's continue with the show.
There you go. Cheers.
Damn, y'all are legit.
Legit. From one end of the spectrum to the complete other is the Gemini CLI, which actually went through a little bit of drama in of itself. Like, I think they accidentally launched it far sooner than they planned to, as you can see from this tweet here. But within a few hours, they actually launched the actual version of this. Have you seen this, Raimar? Have you had are you in the CLI world?
A little bit. I don't know. Like, I think, there's all levels of folks that need tools, and lots of developers only live in like the command line, So very technical folks who are just kind of like speaking real code, they kind of want to be in the guts of these things. So I think that's who these are for. I think, a lot of times, like, I don't know why stick to that UI other than to meet those developers exactly where they are. So that's what I got to imagine they're going after.
The interesting thing with this is the offering that they're basically giving away. I think I watched Theo's video, like he did the maths on this, where they're just giving away hundreds and hundreds of dollars of free usage, because you've got 60 model requests per minute. I mean, Jesus Christ, who's doing that?
Google, they can't let they gave you Gmail and they gave you the Google Docs, and like they can't miss this. They just got to give away the house. They know how that game is played. Like, all they want is you using this so they can suck up all your code and they can learn how you solve problems, and then they can be the god of AI again. Like that's all they care about. They don't care about making money with this. They don't need to make money on anything related to this. They got so much cash coming in, so they just want to corner. They just want to corner the market, and they have a massive developer audience, and they know those folks like live in the command line. So they're like, hey, forget about all these other tools. Like, just come play in the command line, and we got it for you.
So you can bring it into Cursor and whatever, but it's not much of a stepping stone away from the command line, which brings us on to the next topic, which I don't know whether I'm making a mountain out of a molehill with this one, but it definitely starts solidifying some things to me. So, and this isn't new. So Google Studio has this. It's this idea that they have a canvas, whereas Anthropic released this idea of artifacts. And it's applications on just-in-time application creation. You can just build an application to give you flashcards. You build an application to, where was the one I saw, the PRD maker or something like that. I do think I can totally see a world here. And this is all they've launched, right? This is the news, right? We can move on to the next subject right now. But this, realistically, this is me looking into the future and saying, I don't think people will just be building their own tools. It's what we spoke about when you're using Replit and you're building and building your own tools and things like that. I think you, as a technical person, this is where we're at right now. But I don't think it will be long until your accountant is coming in and just building a quick little app in just in time sort of delivery to give them a bunch of data that they want and to be able to manipulate it. Whilst on the surface, this looks like a fun little way to make apps, we're slowly getting to a point, I feel like, where we just, the software development is not necessary anymore, like, because the everyday person is building their own pieces of software as they need it, and then it's discarded.
I don't think that's true at all. I think what's going to happen is more and more people are going to become technically capable and know how to deal with these things, at least in the short term. What you're saying might be true 20 years out, right? Like this job doomerism, this like all these white collar jobs or all these things, you know, like maybe, you know, like at some point down the road. But I think right now what we're seeing is more and more people are actually being exposed to the role of software developer and taking their problem solving skills or real world skills and saying, now I have the capabilities of solving these problems with software without spending $100,000, you know, hiring some team and trying to go through this process and build a thing that's like has to be viable for millions and millions of users for it to be profitable. No, I could build something in a weekend that's just useful for 10 people. Okay, cool. There's all these little pockets of things that are just going to flourish and be created that will counterbalance the displacement of jobs and the doomerism. And, you know, there's so many things that are going to shake out. Like I'm a very optimistic person in some of this. Like I do think disruption is coming, but I don't think, you know, I'm not one of those like pessimistic, it's going to ruin all the jobs and everyone's going to be like, I don't know, destitute or something like that. I just don't think that.
I think this all ties in together. Have you seen this recent study on getting dumb?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you?
I don't need any help with that, y'all.
No.
Well, they said don't say that, right? I think
no, it's part of the rules.
It's part of the rules. Don't say you get dumb. It's just, yeah.
They explored 3 groups of people, right? Brain only, LLM, and search engine, and asked them to write these essays, right? Whatever the essay was about, I'm not too sure. And then on the 4th session, they did the old the switcheroo and got the people who were brain only to do LLM, and then LLM only to do brain only kind of assessment of their write up, whatever it is they wrote. And basically they monitored their brains during the where is it now? They monitored their brains using the electroencephalography, EEG, to like assess what's going on, basically. And the brain only obviously exhibit the strongest distributed networks amongst their brain and all this sort of stuff, whereas basically the LLM people just switched off. And the self-reported ownership of like, basically, do I know what the hell that I wrote about? Again, as you can imagine, the LLM people weren't there. You know, they couldn't recall what they had learned. They couldn't really recall what they had written, things like that. Whereas obviously the brain only people, and I don't necessarily think this is rocket science. I think this is expected. I mean, this is the same story we talk about time and time again when it comes to, you know, if you write something down, it's going to have a different impact than if you just try and memorize it and all the rest of it. But it's just applied in the current context of LLMs.
That's good. What is the point of writing an essay? I know the point here is, you know, for the study, but in real life, you should have some interest in what you're doing and you're writing an essay about. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter like what your brain activity is. It quite literally, it doesn't matter.
This is the calculator all over again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember in school and they're like, you can't use the calculator because you're not going to have this, you know, like you're not gonna be able to have it all the time. It's like, well, now I got it all the time. And I don't, you know, like, and so did people forget their multiplication table? Sure. Was it more important to memorize your multiplication tables a long time ago? Sure. Do I still need multiplication sometimes? Yeah. Okay. You know, but I can also like use the thing. And same thing with like, again, I think we're headed towards a world where you're just going to be able to do other shit. You know, maybe you need to write an essay, but like maybe you don't need to write an essay. You know, like maybe you could just read somebody else's essay, or you can have it aggregate something, and now your brain power is freed up to do other things. You know, and so like I just think it's one of those like the skill set, the shifts. We were talking yesterday in the Flow Walkers space, And I brought up this old quote that like just resonates with me, especially in this modern world. But it's like, we're ancient hardware running medieval software, living in a modern world. Right. And so our bodies are still like evolutionarily tuned for a totally different world than the one we live in right now. And our social structures, the cues that we take socially, are built hundreds and hundreds of years ago, right? Like most of our social and cultural institutions and like religion and social norms and how we interact with each other, like all that's kind of based off of the past. And we haven't really figured out like what is the new role for humanity in this space when we have abundant intelligence or abundant resources here or there, or like all these other things. And so we're just going through this like shift of humanity where like we just don't really know. And anybody who pretends that they know is like lying. Like I would be very cautious to listen to anything that person has to say, because they probably have an agenda of some level. So I think we're just in a phase where if you like just ask the LLM to write a thing and you don't like spend any time thinking about it, like you said, if you're not interested in the subject, the essay's going to be trash. So we're just going to have to find different ways to learn and be engaged. And maybe less people are going to be writing essays in the future, right? You're just going to be talking to Jarvis and, hey, tell me about XYZ, and this thing in your ear is going to be telling you everything you need to know. You don't need an essay.
Back in the CLI world, I know this isn't going to be too insightful like the last two conversations, but basically the drama that revolves around this CLI, and I want to use this. I haven't had a chance to use it. I've just downloaded it today because it does seem like it's doing a whole, from a cost perspective, is actually doing a lot of cost saving things. But basically the story goes, the original creator of what was called terminal based coding interface, brought on a guy called Dax, who is on, if I got Dax over here, brought on Dax to work on the UI, and also Adam. Charm AI came in to basically poach the app because it was working so well. Dax and Adam declined politely, but Hajim actually said yes to it, but sneakily kind of went behind their back, took the code base with them, even though Dax owned the name OpenCode, and has basically they've got a hold of the original code base, wiped Dax and Adam's contributions to this code base as if they never existed. And you can see he's saying this here, deleted GitHub comments and whatever, and claiming that none of this is true. He's saying no comment history was deleted, we re-registered, blah blah blah. So this is open source drama that's happening at the moment, and this is the CEO who's basically just denying everything. And I think we've literally spoken about some sort of he said she said drama every single week on this show, whether it's the illusion of thinking with the Apple thing saying that what do you call it, the models don't think. There's just so much drama going on in the world of AI at the moment, and I'm struggling to keep up.
Winner
That's
takes
a
all,
short
baby.
version. I know. And then we were talking about Zuckerberg as well, just offering this $100 million signing bonus or something.
I heard some pretty interesting, like just maybe that's BS, that it was like just trying to seed.
I've heard this.
Like imagine if imagine if you try to swap and then you don't get the 100 million, and then you're like, oh fuck, like that was a lie, and so you stay, or like you feel like you're being underpaid, like maybe you're underperforming or something. So it's like a lot of like maybe psychological warfare also being had in the game of at that scale.
I mean, 4 employees have left OpenAI for Zuck's dream team.
Sure.
Well, I mean, like we've gone through the news. We've accomplished our goal. Let's wrap it up there. How can people build strong connections with you? What's
X is probably the best way.
Yeah.
X is probably the place I spend the most time. I'm on Instagram, or you can go over to my website, rymar.com, and learn more about the different projects I'm working on, or how I see the world.
Nice. Well, it's been a fruitful discussion, and that's the week's AI news. It's been great having you on, bringing that perspective to us. Cheers everyone for tuning in, and come speak to us, come give us feedback on all the sessions. We love it. We really appreciate any sort of feedback you have, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Peace out.